there's also other stuff going on, and it would be negligent of us not to mention one of the undercurrents that's going through everything that's happening in Orlando, which is, the amount of consternation and concern by players to even go down there due to the instances of injustice, police brutality. Obviously, that was highlighted by the murder in Minnesota of George Floyd. And now there's been a huge push within the NBA to figure out what to do about this. And I know today we talked a little bit in our prep about the courts coming in. They've obviously put Black Lives Matter on there. And, I think there's a lot of back and forth about what to do, how to do it. And I'm just curious, what have you heard and what have you seen down there in terms of how players are feeling about the messages, whether it's on their jerseys or other ways, that they can speak up about what's going on? Because obviously this is a huge national issue, just like COVID is.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because the undercurrent tone out here is that everybody seems to be, one, ecstatic at how the NBA has been taking a proactive role in this, where they're going to have Black Lives Matter on the court, where they allowing players to express themselves. They've always been a player-friendly league. And to me, as any other league in American sports, the NBA is definitely at the front in terms of like dealing with equality issues and things like that. So they're definitely taking a hands-on approach. It's one of the situations where, like, if you work for a company and they're being proactive about it before you have to voice your opinion, then you're working for a great organization. So that definitely seems to be the current tone from the players. Like, they know they're in good hands. It's not like there's any Donald Sterlings in the league. And one thing I've always said whenever somebody asks me about, the injustice and stuff like that, and just look at, I've always used as an example. Just look at the New York Knicks. James Dolan is whatever you may think of him, whatever, he's he's definitely dropped the ball in a lot of situations. However, he always hires minorities in positions to try to win. So, when you hear things like a Jerry Jones of the NFL not saying anything about what's going on other than football related issues, that's troublesome. Where you have someone like, when you have other owners and other sports leagues donating money and making public service announcements and things like that. But behind the curtain, there's not a lot of people of minorities in position to exceed. So that's why I always use the James Dolan, analogy, because, hey, he may be a complete idiot, but he hires minorities regularly on a daily basis and try to put them in a position to succeed. May not be the greatest guy in the world, but he definitely, does what he has to do behind the scenes. So I definitely go back to the NBA. I think Adam Silver is one of the better proactive commissioner. And, he definitely has the players in his ear, and the NBA is just, continuing to lead by example. They're doing a great thing. Kudos to the Toronto Raptors, who came out here with the Black Lives Matter buses, which I thought was creative. But again, I think when it comes to injustice and equality, NBA is by far the best of the four major sports.
Jason, that was one of the reasons why I was against this restart, because in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, I just didn't think this was a time for sports. I thought this was a time for the world to kind of get together, figure out how we can move forward as a society, and to try and just get rid of all oppression, no matter if it's race, gender, orientation, anything like that. So I was just thinking of the March on Washington this coming August 28th, and I mentioned to Ben concerns because players should have every right to want to go. Like Kyrie Irving, who's not in the bubble, doing a great job with the Breonna Taylor documentary, he'll most likely be there. But my opinion, Jason, was that if you're a player in the bubble, if you're a LeBron James, if you're an Anthony Davis, if you're a Kawhi Leonard, and you want to go to that march, you have every right to. The only issue is, well, if you leave the bubble, it's a tough time coming back. So I'm just wondering, are players banding together and saying, hey, August 28th, we're marching on Washington, we want to be a part of history, or are they just focused on basketball and using their platform as athletes to kind of send their own messages from Orlando?
The early rumbles that I'm hearing about that is that, of course, the players, they would love to be there, but they can't, because at that time where the playoffs are in full swing. What I am hearing, though, is that they're trying to organize a situation where, there might not be no games that day. Like, the playoffs would stop for that one day. Everybody got to watch it. wherever they're at in the bubble, and that might be the best approach for that in terms of like for those guys to be out there, knowing that they can't be out there physically because of the pandemic, as well as you don't want to get caught up in that. So I think the best alternative would probably be, and which is what they're suggesting, to be like no playoff games that day. Like it'll go back to being dark for one day while everyone can observe and watch it in their own space.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think, you touched on it. I think the silence in some places of the country and in some sports has really been deafening. And it's been really great to see a little bit of collaboration and solidarity in this case. There was a really great story that ran on ESPN about Bruce Maxwell, who had attempted to protest in MLB. And one of the things that kind of they alluded to was that sense of isolation. And I think it's so important, in this time that we're all able to amplify the voices of people when they don't feel like they have a voice, when they don't feel like they can do that. So I love what you said there, Jason. Just so that we don't, I want to kind of take this out on a little bit of a lighter note, just because Jason and I last week, we talked about sort of within the bubble. I'm not sure if you've seen this, Jason, and obviously, if you haven't, no big deal at all. We'll kind of give a little breakdown. But there is a Twitter handle that Jason showed me that has really made my day recently. In these tough times, everyone needs a little pick-me-up. And it is called NBA Bubble Life. And it goes through all the things that are going on in the bubble. And I don't want to do it a disservice, Jason. Do you want to kind of take over the rest of what NBA Bubble Life is all about?
Well, Jason, have you heard of it? Do you follow the account?
I do follow the account, but I haven't really been on it in a little bit.
All right, so it's like 4 or 5 guys that are just compiling basically all the social media, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, that these players are doing, like Hassan Whiteside laying in bed with the Disney filters and J.R. Smith reading the menu out loud for the room service. And so Ben and I last week did our NBA Bubble All-Stars, and we talked about J.J. Redick and Myers Leonard and now Jordan Clarkson shotgunning beers. You got Boban Marjanovic and Tobias Harris being reunited. So, if you haven't checked out the account, then it's a bit of an unfair question to you, but because you're there, we'll ask it anyway. Who are your NBA Bubble All-Stars? And this has nothing to do with basketball, just overall entertainment.
Well, I like that. I'm going to go with Jason Tatum.
Okay. Any reasoning behind Jason Tatum? I hear he has a killer golf game.
He was not on our list, too.
Oh, really? No, I feel like he's branching out his personality a little bit out here, and he's engaging more in social media so other people can kind of get behind the scenes and get to know him a little bit better. He's kind of doing this will be my second player, Joel Embiid, who in my account, he's one of the better guys in the leagues in terms of social media. And I feel like, Jason Tatum is starting to follow in that footstep a little bit, just a little bit where he's exposing things here and there. So I got Bynum number 2. I'm going a tall lineup here. I got JaVale McGee. He's always entertaining. He's a new Shaq. As much as him and Shaq at the beginning didn't get along, he's a new Shaq. So I'm definitely feeling that right there. J.R. Smith, he's up there because when J.R. starts going off and he's like, how he is in the game where he just keeps shooting and he goes on his little hot streaks. When it comes to social media, when he starts performing, there's no stopping this guy. So
you got an irrational confidence team here. I can tell. I like it.
Who else I would put up there? I would probably Ben Simmons. Who knew Ben Simmons could shoot threes so consistently in practice? Now, will he do that in the real game? Who knows? But I'm feeling his social media presence a little bit as well.
Okay.
He had JJ Redick. I love his podcast. I've always been a fan of him, and he's also a Brooklynite. He's out here in Brooklyn, so I'm definitely I would definitely say that's my top 5. Honorable mention. I would have really loved to see what Michael Beasley had going on before he left, because to me he was my guy. He was the guy I had money on to leave the bubble first. He was my guy. I was expecting great 4 a.m. content from, but he's not here. Unfortunately, because he tested positive for COVID. But that was the guy had my eyes on. I was like, between him and J.R. Smith, we're going to get some great content.
You have guaranteed your spot on at least a few more shows because you really spoke to my heart. And that sound you heard was a little piece of Jason's soul just going into the ether. Because I am a big fan of Beasley, Be Easy. There's so many nicknames I could go on forever. But, Jason, we have taken so much of your time. You've been so generous. And we just want to give you a minute. So, again, Jason writes for Double G Sports, soon to be in The Zone. He writes for The Source. He recently posted a couple articles about the Washington football team, about some things that are going on in the NBA. So you can read him on The Source. You can read him on Double G or in The Zone, as it will be shortly. He talked about Kevin Durant's Boardroom series. Jason, what else do you have to plug, and what other content are you going to be putting out?
I'm definitely going to be putting out some stuff out here daily starting tomorrow, especially with the scrimmages going on. So definitely be checking out for that. Definitely get the stuff going for Double G and / in The Zone. And again, guys, we definitely got to do this again. This was fun. Definitely looking forward to the next time.
Oh, this was an absolute pleasure, man. You gave us great stuff. I'm sorry it took us this long to collaborate, but the three of us, we are going to take over in The Zone. We're going to get some great NBA content out there with you on the forefront. And, kudos to you for being down there. I'm sure it's tough being away from loved ones for a long time, but hopefully you get to enjoy yourself. And then after the finals, maybe go over to Disney World and go on It's a Small World or, Splash Mountain before they change the name, and you get to have a little fun.
Plus, I hear Michael Beasley's free, so maybe we can make it a foursome. Who knows?
Hey, there you go.
Oh, man. I had a sidebar question just because it came out tonight that Kevin Garnett's interested in potentially owning the Timberwolves. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts before we wrap quickly on how epic it would be to have KG as an NBA owner. I want a majority owner. He made over $400 million in his career. He's got endorsements. I just want him to be the sole owner of the Timberwolves because that would be – I'd move to Minnesota. That's must watch, like a press conference with KG as an owner. Classic. And he's one of my favorite players of all time.
I can see that happening. And I feel like, if you were to ask me who current or past players that I would see as an NBA owner before the end of this decade coming up, I would say LeBron James and Kevin Garnett. And if you look at Kevin Garnett, the amount of money he's made from especially coming out straight out of high school, from back then to even now, just in endorsements and everything else, I feel like he has more of a capital, definitely more capital than Jordan did when he, purchased the Bobcats / Hornets. So I can definitely see that he never won. He never wanted to leave Minnesota. He loved it there. It was unfortunate that he couldn't get a solid player after Marbury to come join him out there. But I can definitely see it, and it'll be good for the league to have another minority owner. So I hope that happens. And for LeBron James, it's going to happen with LeBron James pretty soon too.
And you know what they say. Anything is possible. So,
hey,
sorry, I had to
wow,
throw it in
you're
there.
taking my job as the dad jokester of the show. But, Jason, do you have anything else you wanted to touch on? I think we covered a lot of important topics. We had some fun. But is there anything that, you feel that needs to be discussed before the restart games begin?
Definitely just good to have basketball back. I would say that's the most important thing. And everyone's taking the health serious. And the nation needs a distraction, and sports usually does that for them. But I feel like basketball, and this time around, especially we're not going to have fans. So we're going to hear a lot of stuff on the court that's going to be inappropriate, and I'm here for all of it.
Love it.
Oh, love it so much. Why don't we try and get you back in a couple weeks? Next week, Ben and I are going to do a preview before the seeding games begin. But 2 weeks from tonight is August 4th, depending on your availability with the games. Maybe we can get you back and, kind of see, that will be 3 or 4 days into the seeding games. Is that cool with you? Or we could talk off air, obviously.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for that, and I'd love to do that.
All right, Jason, you're a good man. So happy to have, eyes and ears on the ground in Orlando. And again, we appreciate the time. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And stay safe down there. Enjoy yourself, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. You guys as well. Stay safe.
Stay safe, my friend. Talk to you later.
That was our very own Jason Cordner in The Zone / The Source down in the bubble covering the NBA restart. Ben, I think this is a good place to leave it off for the week. What do you think?
Yep, and thank you everyone for listening in. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. And
5 stars
we'll
for Jason Cordner, not for us, for Jason Cordner. Guy was incredible, had some great insight, some stuff that we